Okay, good evening all. It's my privilege to welcome all for today's gathering. I extend a warm welcome to the speaker of the day, Shri Varadarajan Atur, Lead Specialist, Energy and Evaluation, World Bank, Mr. Nagaraj, Retired Vigilance Officer, SBM, and President Adarsha Seva Sangha, all the charter members, associate members, and institution members. Further, we have two associate members who have joined us in the month of December. First is Ms. Megha Kiran. She's a senior nutritionist and founder of NutriNest with Megha. She specializes in personalized nutrition, metabolic health, and women wellness. With 4+ years of experience, she has guided hundreds towards better energy, hormone balance, and sustainable health. Megha also conducts corporate wellness programs and community nutrition workshops. Her approach is science-backed, simple, and result-oriented. She's expected to be attending the session today. Anyways, in her absence, a warm welcome to her. And the second person is Mr. Nikhil Mannar, a well-known entrepreneur known behind the World of Mysuru Pak and Pataka Mannars. They've got around 12 varieties of Mysuru Paks being manufactured, which has got a shelf life of 3 months. He is unable to join us today because they are also celebrating the first anniversary of World of Mysuru Pak. Anyways, a warm welcome to him also. Now may I request Mr. Bhaskar to please come on stage. We have a small felicitation program. Please, sir.
Today is a special and a little bit of emotional moment for all of us at TiE Mysuru chapter, as we acknowledge and thank a person who has been a true pillar of our journey over the last few years, and that is Mahesh Katale. And Mahesh Katale has decided to pursue other opportunities outside of TiE Mysuru. So we want to do a small facilitation for Mahesh. So may I request Mahesh to please come on the stage as we read out a felicitation for him. It's a round of applause for Mahesh, I guess. So all right, I have to start from the beginning. So come on, Mahesh, on the stage first. Good evening, everybody. Today's, just sit there. So we'll talk about stuff. Today is a special and emotional moment for all of us at TiE Mysuru as we acknowledge and celebrate and felicitate. Is it facilitate or felicitate? Felicitate. Thank you. I'm always dyslexic, so felicitate and thank a person who has been a pillar of strength and pillar of in our journey over the last 4.5 years, and that's Mahesh Katale for you. Mahesh joined TiE Mysuru in March 2021, and from that day onwards, he has played a very crucial role in strengthening and shaping the chapter. And just to remind everybody, at that point in time, TiE Mysuru was just about 2.5 years old. So we are still in a very, very early stages of a startup company, literally. And his contribution, or at the time of him joining, it was very important that we have some stability and go from that point onwards. As executive director, he has worked tirelessly under the leadership of our past presidents, starting with Ajit Pai, who actually brought him on board to TiE Mysuru. Thank you very much, Ajit. And subsequently with Sudhanva Dhananjaya, he's not here today, but of course subsequent to that is Dr. Mahesh Rao as well. And each one of them have very high word of praise for his contribution and his work to growing TiE Mysuru. He has been contributing consistently through every phase of our growth over the last 4.5 years. His involvement has gone from beyond routine responsibilities. Mahesh has been deeply engaged in organizing key events, building meaningful partnerships with individuals, members, as well as with various ecosystem partners here in Mysore, and working closely with institutions, particularly the educational institutions. And under his guidance and under his leadership, we have 7 engineering colleges, almost I think those are the 7 engineering colleges we have in and around Mysore who have successfully been part of our ecosystem and part of our membership. He has been an integral part of multiple TiEcons, TiE Pitch Fest, TiE Women Pitch Fest, TiE University, and a Women Pitch Fest, and then most notably the TiE Global Summit that was held in Mysuru as the co-host last year in December. This was a milestone event for our chapter, and Mahesh Katala did a phenomenal job of spearheading that effort. And through our partners ecosystem, he has also actively contributed to initiatives such as Mysuru Startup Pavilion, Bengaluru Tech Summit, Mysuru Tech Summit, Beyond Bengaluru Initiative, Mysuru Entrepreneurship Forum, SJC STEP, and many other partner organizations, including Karnataka Digital Economy Mission. What truly sets Mahesh apart is not just his dedication, but the warmth and friendliness he brought to TiE Mysuru. He always encouraged members to participate, supported new ideas, and built long-lasting friendship within the TiE community that goes beyond TiE Mysuru chapter. He's been instrumental in connecting with executive directors from other TiE chapters in and around India and even at the global level. So much so that many people and many TiE presidents around the world know him by his first name. So that's a testament to how popular he has been and his ability to reach out to people and beyond just Mysore chapter and establish those connections. Mahesh, on behalf of TiE Mysuru, thank you so very much for your contribution and leadership. We wish you the very best in all your future endeavors. We'll definitely and surely be missed at TiE Mysuru. Thank you very much, and everybody have a great evening. But before I think he deserves a standing ovation for his contribution to. Now I request Ajit Pai, Dr. Mahesh, and Sabrishan San to please come on the stage and give him us our token of appreciation. So.
Thank you, sir, and thank you all the members. Now I request Mr. Srinidhi to give an introduction of the speaker for the day today.
It's a privilege to welcome you to this special TiE Mysuru session on navigating economic and geopolitical risks as an entrepreneur. Our speaker today, Sri Varadarajan Atur, is someone who has spent a lifetime working at an intersection of numbers, nations, and sustainable economic development. Born in Hospete and educated in Mysore, he completed his BSc from Sharda Vilas College and went on to earn not one, but 2 MBAs. One from Manasa Gangotri, University of Mysore in 1976, and another in Finance and Investments from George Washington University in United States in 1990. He moved to Washington, D.C., where he joined the World Bank in 1986 and quickly moved up to lead the bank's energy leading programs to various countries across Asia, Eastern Europe, Africa, and several other regions, helping countries design large-scale projects and policies, including privatization in complex political and economic environments. During the 90s, he also led the bank's support for enterprise reform and private sector development in some former Soviet Union countries. For over 8 years before crossing continents, he taught and conducted research in Mysuru. So he understands both the classroom and the boardroom, both theory and the tough reality of implementation. At the World Bank and in his advisory work collaborating with institutions like the IMF, he has seen firsthand how wars, sanctions, climate shocks, supply chain disruptions, and currency swings can make or break economies, and with them, the fate of countless entrepreneurs and small businesses. When founders today worry about whether a new conflict will spike oil prices, whether a trade sanction will hit their exports, or whether global interest rate changes will dry up funding, these are exactly the kind of scenarios he has spent decades analyzing and helping design the World Bank's support for governments. What makes Mr. Atur especially unique is that even while working at the highest levels of global finance, he has stayed anchored to Indian culture and values. He and his spouse, Srimati Lata, a bachelor's degree holder in mathematics from Mysuru University, are actively involved in promoting Hindu studies at the Hindu University of America based in Florida, USA, and are closely connected with community initiatives that blend spirituality, ethics, and service. The same spirit is reflected here in Mysuru through Adarsha Seva Sangha and Sri Hulagadri Trust under the presidency of Sri G.R. Nagaraja, which work consistently in areas like education, rural upliftment, temple and heritage conservation, and support for underserved communities, reminding us that growth is meaningful only when it is inclusive and rooted in dharma. For entrepreneurs in this room, today's session is not just another talk. It is an opportunity to zoom out from pitch decks and daily firefighting to learn how to read the global dashboards. Mr. Atur will help us understand how shifting economies, geopolitics, energy transitions, climate finance mechanisms, and multilateral policies translate into real-world risks and opportunities for Mysuru founders. Expect him to challenge you to think like a policymaker while acting like a scrappy founder, to build companies that are not just investor ready, but also geopolitics ready. So, as winter gets a little cooler and the world gets a little hotter geopolitically, this evening is our chance to learn how to navigate the storms rather than complain about the weather. Please join me in warmly welcoming a son of Karnataka, a true global citizen, and a guide for entrepreneurs who want to play on the world stage, Shri Varadarajan Atur.
Grateful thanks to all of you. Namaste to everybody. May I first also acknowledge and join you all in felicitating Sri Mahesh, who I had a talk with him on the teleconference last week, I think. He, Srinidhi, and Rajani, they arm twisted me and persuaded me somehow that I should come here. I'm not acting big. I'm just trying to tell you, you are the real entrepreneurs. I'm not an entrepreneur. I've been on the other side of enterprise and decision making. So I was actually thinking that why not? I should meet all these successful people and learn from it. The other reason was that when I left Mysore in early 80s, it was a different place. Those of you who share the age with me know exactly what I am talking about. And when I come back here 40 years later, I've been here off and on, this is a vibrant city, full of such young talent and elders who are ready to share their knowledge and mentor them and bring them into the world of competition. What better could one ask for his hometown? Thank you very much. For today's sharing of my perspectives with you, I scratched my brain a little bit because if I talk to you about enterprise, it's like teaching the fish how to swim. You are already there swimming, and in everyday waters you know exactly what it is. So I decided that I would roll back all my 30 years of World Bank experience, 35 years I should say, and see what is it that I can actually dip into and glean and share it with you in such a way that you may not get an opportunity to hear that kind of a story. So What I'm going to share with you is from my time at the World Bank, including some of those years trying to help enterprise development in the former Soviet Union and other places. I want to first pay my tribute to World Bank, a very unique place, not just because I worked there for that long. It's truly a unique place. It brings extraordinary brains from around the world. You will not see another organization where you will meet such kind of dedicated people to work with. They will travel with you, they will go on missions with you, and they will do everything, even working late at night and sometimes throughout the night in negotiations. Wonderful people. Humbly, I'm happy that I was one of them. And I'm a fellow Mysorean, and I'm happy to be here to share my perspectives with you. Thank you. I hope that I will not bore you. I am also hoping that it will be interesting enough. Please listen. Jnananandamayam devam nirmalaspatikakritim Adharam sarvavidyanam hayagrevam upasmahe. The world today is a very interesting place. The global churns are also very interesting, some fanatical, some actually anthropogenic. But where does India stand in this mix and in this whole gyration and flux that is happening around the world? This is what the essence of my sharing of my experience with you. Recently, I heard Narendra Modi, our dear Prime Minister, talk about how he would strive hard to make India the third largest economy in the world. It's not the first time he has said that. He has been saying it for quite some time, and true to his credit, his credentials and the results that we have seen over the last 10, 12 years validate his ambition and aspiration. We all want him to succeed because we would be the benefactors of India slowly and surely, and perhaps soon becoming the third largest economy. When he took office in 2014, he reminds us in many of the speeches that India was teetering at the 12th or the 13th position, but has managed through steadfast macroeconomic policies, dealing with the headwinds from the world, dealing with the regional conflicts that we have been facing day in, day out, has managed to bring us to the fourth or the fifth largest economy today. Why is it important for you guys? For me, it is important because that's what I have been watching from the bank side, and it's my passion to look at nations' development and human development and so forth. For you, because you are the ones who are going to make it. Enterprise is at the very crux of a country's economic development. You are the ones. You make it happen, or you don't make it happen. Collectively, you are really the sound and the beat of the economy. Thank you and best wishes for making more efforts into realizing the ambitions of India. But you are neither new. Enterprise is an age-old phenomenon. Enterprise making is an art in itself as well as a science. I think you guys know more. I have just parroted what I have heard from other sources. But if we were to map which are the regions of the world that have succeeded immensely in economic development and also very fast development, what was their success? Why did they succeed? Based on my observations and so forth, came up with 4 regions or countries, and I added to that India, and I want to share before you why I think that way. First is the United States of America and all the Western countries who share the Anglo-Saxon legal framework. For the past 200 plus years, they have pretty much perfected the art of enterprise making. Even today, you know that United States leads the entire group of Western countries, right? I mean, everybody salutes to them. It did not happen just because it's a big country. It did not happen because everybody from the rest of the world migrated to it 100, 150 years constantly, or that it has the resources. Everybody has it. Africa has more resources. China too has some resources. But what makes USA special? USA is special because their life is an enterprise. They teach enterprise and to be entrepreneurial very, very young. What I mean is, kids who are 5 years, 7 years, 10 years old set up small kiosk in front of their house. 3 or 4 homes get together and they sell juice. 25 lemonade. They call it lemonade. It used to be called Kool-Aid. Different. Have you ever seen that anywhere else in the world? Western idea. And where does it take? It's not that they want every one of those child to be an entrepreneur. All I'm saying is, it's embedded in their DNA. And why are they preparing the child to be so? It's because at the age of 16 or 17, boy or girl leaves home, enters the world on her or his own, to explore, to live on one's own, take up a job wherever it is, and really lead a life and understand what it means to be an individual, a tough individual. You don't see that anywhere else. The Western countries have pretty much adopted that, especially in Europe, but not to that extent as the USA. Therefore, the USA developed an entry and an exit mechanism for enterprise making so smooth, it's like eating ice cream. No joke. You can sit at your desk and incorporate your company for $27. Your idea. Okay? You try your best. 2 years later, you think that, you did not succeed or the business did not go anywhere. You close that for $30. Can you tell me another country which makes entry and exit so easy and without barriers? You don't need a lawyer. You don't need an accountant. Why did they make it like that? It's called the Delaware Incorporation. Everyone who knows the US system, I don't want to go into detail, everyone who knows it exactly knows what I'm talking about. So easy. This is one of the important aspects of regulatory facilitation or the ecosystem for enterprise development. Entry and exit without barriers and without additional cost for you. I do not know what it takes to incorporate a small business in Mysuru or India, and what is involved, and what it takes to exit without any additional liabilities to the government or to the other authorities. I do not know because I have no personal experience. But I do know, based on all podcasts and others I have received, USA is the best. So they teach that. So the ecosystem that has been developed over the last 150 years, regardless of the political party that was there are only two parties. They have never disturbed this ease of doing business. So the United States of America, with its fellow Western countries, to me, represents the best ecosystem for entrepreneurs to come and set up businesses. If you follow some of the Indian businesses now in the Bay Area, that's the innovation hub, Silicon Valley as they call it, you will find that 6 out of 10 new companies are floated by Indians. Why am I saying this? That the Indians who went there have absorbed this trait from the Americans. It's not hard. You live there, you see the system, you get that. It's a symbiotic relationship. Indians are very smart there, like you. But the system allows them to do more than perhaps you. How you navigate your system here, I am not undermining. I'm just saying USA has perfected it, so has the Western world galloped in economic development because it facilitated the people to be innovative, to take business risks, to come into the economic activity, economic engine, without necessarily burdening them with additional and unnecessary regulations. This is very important. The next type of why USA and the West did that, what is the historical significance of that? I'll come to that, but let me paint for you the other 3 or 4 that I have in mind. The second one I have is Japan. It not only is physically situated across from the USA, culturally, Japan is very, very different. For the Japanese mind, self-honor, family honor, community honor, nation's honor are non-negotiable. If you have worked with the Japanese, you know what I'm talking about. To illustrate this point, last year, the ruling party some of the office members of that ruling party who held the position in the parliament had embezzled, without their knowledge, $67,000. 4 of them. $67,000 equivalent in yen had no accounts. They were made to resign, made to apologize in the parliament, suspended. Can you think of any other country in the world which will come to this? And they honorably did that and walked out of the parliament. That is Japan for you, from the people perspective. But then what is the enterprise story? For me, Japan was in my hand when I had the Sony Walkman in my hand. Does anybody remember Sony Walkman? Not the youngsters, because they probably don't even know the iPod, that the Apple, now it is all streaming. When Japan brought a tape recorder system plus radio, it's such a small thing. For us, it was like, heaven. I could just put it in my pocket and walk about. What a pride. We used to listen to cricket commentary and show off everywhere. Mine is Sony. The point is, Japanese were at the forefront of miniaturization and innovation. From that Sony onwards, you map out all of the electronic equipments that you used in the office, that you used in entertainment, were all made by the Japanese. The story of the semiconductor. Japanese were so good at that anything that came from Japan was high quality, was small, it was not very big, small, you could handle that very easily, and it lasted a long time. That is the country that is now going through a different phase now, compared to the days when Sony and the Hitachis and all of them were at the forefront of innovation and market power. Take, for example, Toyota. Their Corolla engine, I'm told by various specialists, is the world's best automobile engine. So perfected that it doesn't matter whether you are in the North Pole or South Pole or in Washington or in Mysuru. At the first crank, it starts. That is the pride that the Toyota company takes about that. Why did they do that? Because that is a Japanese for you. He does not compromise on quality or his honor. That Japan today is in a very difficult situation, macro-wise. I will come back to it. The third area that I looked at was Russia and the former Soviet Union. If you remember the Cold War days, not the youngsters in the back because they were not born, Russia was the one that had the superior technology, whether it was in space science or nuclear technology or power plants, power generation, automobiles, whatever it was. Soon after the Second World War, Russia had the best technology, group of technologies that mattered for industrial and economic development. The whole former Soviet Union collapsed in 40 years. And why did that happen? How did they develop all that technology, enterprise and all that? And then it was all gone. I'll tell you why and how that happened after I tell you the next story. China. You can see today that more than 30 to 40% of the products that you keep using every day are made in China. True to their credit, they have done it well. Prior to 1970, China's and India's profiles were very similar. Peasant-based, ours was Kisan-based, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, if you remember. They were also just, peasant-based. But then something clicked in their favor. Nixon and Kissinger laid out a plan for Chinese labor and China's resources to be tapped into the US economic engine. They had a reason for doing that. I will also tell you that. Why at that time and why Nixon and why that fellow. But let's come back to China. How did it develop enterprises from peasants? What was their model? And how are they today? The difference between Japan and China is very, very simple. China has improved and perfected others' product and technology, whereas Japan created new technologies. USA created new technologies. Can you show me one product that China has created new? That means it is a new market. No. Zero. They have done very well in expanding and doing things better, but nothing of a nature like, Did they do the iPhone? No, they did not. Did they do the Sony Walkman? No, no story. They took the source code of the Microsoft, converted into their own Chinese method and adopted it. What prevented them from doing it before? Doesn't happen. And why? I will tell you about the Chinese mindset a little later. Now, let me come to India. See, these are the four big, large, significant areas. Now, we are also large, India. How do we map in terms of our psychology and our approach to enterprise development? It is interesting that while all other countries have gone through ups and downs and changes, revolutions and all destructions and doing things differently, India's has been a story of a large ship sailing at a slow pace in the ocean, not being bothered by anybody else. People cannot shake it. It just goes by itself. I'll tell you what it means. Indian mindset is not singular. We are a mosaic. Karnataka different from Gujarat, different from Tamil Nadu, different from... Very, very, very uniquely mosaic-like, How did that happen? This is interesting to know. Let me trace back the critical drivers of where these typologies have come, and that therefore, what are the lessons that we can draw from a geopolitical angle, and what risks we are facing, and how we can actually project which country will act in which way, how you will act, how Japanese will act. You will know because of this psychology. Adam Smith in the 18th century wrote his treatise on economics called The Wealth of the Nations. Public policy people and economic graduates read this first. It is the first thing that is introduced, like the limits and continuity for a calculus person. Okay. At the same time, his contemporary, Robert Malthus, was studying population study, how populations are impacted. Malthus was an Englishman and Adam Smith was a Scottish fellow. It's important because they did not see eye to eye. There was political differences. Adam Smith argued that for economic development, the government should not interfere at all. Wealth creation in an economy is purely by private sector and private agents. Government does not create wealth. Actually, it depletes wealth. He argues that. And therefore, he argued for the government to stay back and showed through his economic model making that there is a mechanism called the market. The invisible forces of demand and supply will make sure that people's demand are met through adequate supplies at the right price, because that is the invisible hand of the market. More demand, more supply, and that therefore there would be a market mechanism. At the same time, Malthus was approaching this from a population angle. Remember that in the 1800s and the 19th century, England was ruling most of the globe. And obviously, the Queen and everybody else was interested in adopting a system that enhanced their interest in the world and in their own economic development. So they caught on to Adam Smith's argument, even though it came from Scotland. Malthus was arguing at the same time. Why am I boring you with this? This because you understand the psychology of how Adam Smith is actually this heart of the Western mind today. That's why I'm asking you to please bear with me. Malthus argued that because he was working as a contemporary to Darwin and his co-workers and others, his interest was to see what will happen to population if there is more prosperity. He was a very, very avid Christian. He believed that struggle of the people is important to reach God. His belief. So his argument about food product, those days, remember, food was the major concern for everybody. He said that as prosperity improves in an economy, there will be more people because, people will be ready to have more children and therefore. But that, he says, that is a problem because more people will eat more of the food and that therefore they take into another cycle. So he called it a vicious cycle. Okay. So for him, population was a problem. Gladly, the Adam Smith argument stuck because United States at that time was succeeding well. They found gold. They found all the hopes. I was speaking very slowly, but then it happened. Sorry. No problem at all. So because of that, America also found Adam Smith argument very well. Jefferson and all others, who came later, in their writings, they said this is the best model. This is the best model. Because government in check, no or little regulation, wealth creation and welfare is by the private sector. So everything is hunky-dory. And even today, this kind of a philosophy is very much ruling the American mind. But in the 20th century and the 19th century, something else happened. A German fellow, Karl Marx, all of you know, took serious objection to capitalistic approach of Adam Smith and said that, capital and land actually are inert materials. They don't produce anything welfare. It is the people. And all these entrepreneurs are taking away the wealth that is created and not sharing with the people, the labor. It's classic argument, right? This is how you see reforms and revolutions forming. New political party, I will do better than the other, right? So see the thinking. So he came up with the idea that all labor are important, so they should be the ones who are dictating all this policy. Karl Marx's philosophy in the 19th century. It took some time before the Stalins and the others in the Soviet Union absorbed this. Even today, after the failure of the Marxian thinking by the Soviet, Russia is unable to create entrepreneurial mindset. Finding it's struggling. It is struggling. It's not easy because that is the cultural mindset of Russia and the former Soviet Union. Then in the 20th century, the depression of the 1920s, I hope some of you may have studied this. This is important. The economic depression for more than 10 years, followed by the epidemic, the plague epidemic, dealt such a blow to the United States and some of the select countries in the European continent that they were wondering, what do we do? We have kept the government so far away. Now we are suffering from, do you remember the COVID days? We all do, right? After the 1920, apparently 1910s and 1920 epidemic, 100 years later, we saw that. Whole world came to a standstill, and immediately everybody remembered Keynes. So in the 20th century, Keynesian economics, immediately after the depression, Keynes comes forward and says, the government cannot be idle. It is an important agent of economic development, he argues. And therefore, he prescribes that at particularly times of difficulty, economic difficulty, the government should enter the spending. It should increase the deficit. It should spend so that the economy revives, so that people get jobs. Very simple. Somebody has to do, but government has the resources. If it does not, you print money, you borrow money, you do that. That's exactly how the monetary policy and the fiscal policies were twisted and they learned in a difficult way. But as Keynesian idea was being absorbed, the second European World War breaks out. They call it World War. I think I said it to somebody else yesterday. It's the European War actually. It breaks out, adds to the problem and makes Keynes the best fellow. Let's keep Adam Smith a little away, and now let us now take Keynesian economics. The World Bank and the IMF at that time, soon after the Second World War was over, were actually influenced by Keynesian economics. The reconstruction of Europe happened because the governments were willing to spend and they had to spend. And rich countries helped the other poor countries to come together, pool the money, and develop and rebuild bridges, roads, and everything that had been destroyed in Europe. Actually, the World Bank and IMF were created to help rebuild Europe, not the world. World Bank is a common name. What you call, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಅಡ್ಡ ಹೆಸರು ಅಂತಾರಲ್ಲ. Its name was International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, IBRD, Reconstruction and Development. But it was so successful under the Marshall Plan that soon all the other countries said, we also want the assistance, we also want this. So the World Bank grew. Now, that is a digression. Let me come back here. That thinking of Keynesian economics has now been put back. Adam Smith has reincarnated in America. Why? Why did that happen? 1986. Ronald Reagan tells Gorbachev, tear down that wall. Do you remember that? He's telling former Soviet Union, you are evil, tear down that wall. So 1989, Berlin Wall falls down. But how did it fall down? Gorbachev, because of that police state they had created, had to introduce what is known as restructuring. Again, I said, reform, restructuring, and openness in the government, authoritarian government. Can these two succeed? Never. They did not. So his efforts of 3 years failed. And in 1989, the whole Soviet Union collapsed. So many countries were there. People lost jobs. There was nothing there. Those who joined the World Bank from the former Soviet Union, because they all became members, they used to tell us stories over lunch, brown bag lunch, how it used to be. And as soon as the wall fell, what happened? Who went after who? Chaos. At that time, I happened to be in the Europe and Central Asia region with many other of my colleagues. And Romania and Bulgaria are also part of the whole mix that have joined. And as if I had asked for some punishment, they say, Romania and Bulgaria reverse, Vardhan, take it. You need to revive the program here and all. I'll come back to it later, how I failed. I succeeded, but I failed and I learned. Now let me come to India. The Indian psyche of mosaic nature goes back to Chanakya days. The known textbook that we have on Arthashastra or economics is Chanakya's Arthashastra. Some of you may have actually read it or heard it in some podcast or some such places. It's interesting. It is before Christian era. What did he argue? He said, welfare and wealth are created by private sector, private holding only. The role of the king is to provide security for the trading community and for the artisans to produce goods. And tax people or the economy in a fair manner, not in a fixed manner, in a fair manner. High when the production is good, low when the production is bad. So it was about a humane approach called dharmic approach, if you want to really give it a twist. It has been adopted probably all over India. Chanakya was not the first. He might have codified the statecraft and the Arthashastra, but if you read some other texts that corroborate this, this was part of our psyche. Private holding and the king only acting as a facilitator. That's the government, Does it ring a bell with Adam Smith? That is exactly what it is. Nothing different from Adam Smith's idea, but this predates Adam Smith. And that is the reason why in the Indian setup and the economic history and our political history, we have never had government holding of lands. Land was the main important thing. Whenever the king usurped land, quickly another king came and gave back to the people. So private enterprise is pretty much there in the Indian psyche. Who wrote this very beautifully? Prime Minister's office has an excellent economic advisor, Sanjeev Sanyal. Have you heard him? Yes. An excellent economist. You should go to the website or listen to some of his speeches on YouTube or whatever. Excellent speaker. Read his book, The Land of the Seven Rivers, Sapta Sindhu, about India. He traces the mercantile superiority of Indian merchants and traders at a time when the world did not know which way was east and west and how to navigate on water. Okay, very important. How did they do that? He traces all of that. What were the risks they faced in navigating the rough seas? Seas were the only way that they could go, And what enabled Indian merchants to sail like that? He gives a beautiful account, these circulating currents of Indian continent helped all of our traders in the past, your predecessors, to take risk, to go on a voyage, sell their products, come back after 6 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever. You read about this, right? So, if you are navigating difficult and rough seas, please bear in mind your predecessors did that long time before to build our country. Sanjeev Sanyal points out that the Indian mercantile and the navigation system was so superior that the British who came had to first dismantle it so that they can establish their goods, because they had already started the Industrial Revolution in the 18th century. They had to sell, and India was not only a source of raw materials, but also so many people. So, you know all that story. Okay. So, now, where is the mosaic coming from? If you see so many of the kingdoms that we have had in the Indian subcontinent or Indian continent as we see here, we do not share the same approach to economics and ideologies. We are totally different. Nobody has been able to standardize us as Indians. You can standardize an American, you can standardize a Westerner, you can standardize a Chinese, generally speaking. Try to standardize an Indian. No, you just cannot. So with that kind of a very varied, very democratic approach to everything, it doesn't accept. Indian mind does not accept anything as given. In parenthesis now, an exercise for you. Try to find the equivalent word in Sanskritam for belief. The entire Western world and others have what is known as belief. Belief means just accepting what is told to you. No questions asked. Tell that to an Indian. Belief has never been part of the psyche of the Indian mind. There is no word equivalent to belief in our entire lexicon of Sanskritam. You may have it in other languages like Kannada, Nambike, not in Sanskritam, which forms the core ideas of our thinking. Having established the role of the government as a key ingredient in various times, good times and bad times. I would like to move on to the current affairs. I hope you just got a picture of how to read an American, a Japanese, an Indian, a Chinese, or a Russian. These are the places where things are happening, will happen. I deliberately excluded Africa because it's so fragmented that there is no governance structure in Africa. So sorry. I also excluded Middle East because they do not have any multi-product other than oil and gas, and it is only a recent phenomenon. So there is nothing like an enterprise system that you can actually trace to, except that you have some historical evidence of some navigation and maritime trading and development. But for our present day modern economic thinking, these typologies, in my view, help us actually understand how people have the ability and the propensity to take risks, manage those risks, and create, in some instances, actually those risks for themselves and for others. What is happening in the world today? Do you believe that a new world order is emerging? Do you?
Yes.
I think it is a given, right? Is it the first time that the world order is emerging new? So many times the world. Who defines the world order? The strong, the mighty. That's it. In the old days, the British did. In the recent times, the America did. Now who is doing it? Not one party. The debate that is going on now is unipolar versus multipolar. Which country challenged America first? China. It first ensured that it is economically a giant. Fine, but that does not give you bargaining power. What gives you bargaining power is when the other fellow is dependent on you. Substantially, the United States economy is dependent on China, even for everyday life. Tylenol, China. Antibiotics, China. Everything comes from China. So much of products come from China. Having known that, China blackmailed the USA. Of course they will, right? I just told you about China. If Mao could kill 60 million of his own people in the name of reform, and People's Liberation Army today can actually vanish its own citizens because they don't listen to you, or that their children are spilling secrets somewhere else. Do you think it is difficult for them to blackmail America? No. They will blackmail everybody. Remember the Galwan? So, China used its might as recently as 2021, soon after the COVID. We do not know whether the COVID-19 release was deliberate, accidental, was just China's job, or was a collaborative effort between US and China. We do not know. Lot of conspiracy arguments and stories are churning around in the, everywhere. Be that as it may, while COVID itself was a global risk for every entrepreneur, everybody is here, but China challenged economically the United States of America. By that time, it had amassed enough of military power in its strength to be able to do that. And USA found itself in a vulnerable position again in 2021, as it had found in 1971 when the oil embargo by the Middle Eastern countries on Israel pretty much dried up all the petrol pumps in the United States. You could see miles and miles of cars. People talk about it. I was not there, but we have read about it. That's what led to the liberalization of the dollar, delinking it from gold and all of the petrodollar. That story continues there. China challenged America in the 2021 and 2022, and dollar was reigning supreme until 2021. If you go back to 2020, all the 100% of oil and gas trading in the world was priced in dollars, transacted in dollars, cleared in dollars. Even though the two parties had nothing to do with America. Why? Because that was the power of Saudi Arabia and America working together. They had a treaty. You shall sell only in dollars. I will give you security. So the military presence and all that. That historical but important. Now, this supremacy of the dollar was first attacked by China. China went to Iran quietly and made a deal for oil and gas in yuan, their own currency. It went to Russia and said, I will build the pipeline on the north. You will send me gas and the transaction will be in yuan. By which time Putin had started the war with Ukraine. He needed more of China. He needed China more than China needed Russia. See how global events and foolish decisions can land big countries into uncompromising situations, and how it sends difficult, uncompromising positions on banking everywhere else. The dollar transaction on oil and gas got breached by China. India was not sitting quiet. If you think that India is not a mischievous country, you are wrong. For our own sake, right? Look, it's a commodity. India went ahead and said that I am also private sector. I have privatized it. It's not government of India. It's just one of them. Go buy oil wherever you get it cheap. Russia and India are good partners, times memory. So they had a good working relationship. We also have one of the largest refineries, Nayara. So it suited very well. So we had a rupee-ruble agreement and broke further the dollar hold and power on the oil markets. Whoever controlled oil controlled economic growth and therefore by logic controlled power. That was the United States of America. Now it's been breached by China and India successfully. It's happening more and more. The latest figures that I heard looks like it needs a clip or something. Do you want me to hold it like this? It's okay. Just check it. About 20 to 25% of this trade is happening outside of the dollar. It is this erosion and depletion of the power and significance that gives nightmare to Donald Trump. Because they're used to controlling the world. Now they need to understand that there are new players in the market. Which are the players? These are the players. China, India, Russia, and all of this. This is the geopolitical risk, because it's not just one risk. It may be a symptom, but so much is underneath here. if you are an entrepreneur and if you have sunk in a lot of capital, and if these events were to affect your business planning, where would you go? You need to hedge. Business, it's hedging, right? You either hedge the market or the sources, or you hedge the bottom line, which is the power or the financing. You can also hedge the currencies if you are exposed to currency risks, right? It's standard, nothing new. And Forex transactions every day touches 5 trillion, 6 trillion in the Forex market globally, though, because this arbitrage is taking place. Now, for Indians, this is very, very new or something real. The tariff issue that Trump started, it's been going on 6-8 months or even longer now. Nothing has actually gone in because there is no legal basis for him to do that. But the uncertainty that he has injected into the trading mechanism, into the economics is so much that people are unwilling to take a bet or unwilling to put their money into this. So, fortunately, for India, we do not depend on export revenue as much as China. Everybody knows this, right? I mean, the leveraging of the Indian economy is domestic, internal, substantially more than China's. That is why China runs to these people, has to use all its might, military might, this, that, all kinds of circuses that you see. That is why Modi does not take a call from Trump. He doesn't need to. Doesn't need to. Yeah, that's fine. That's because Piyush Goyal is there. Do you know the latest? Trump actually wants India, Japan to join America, Russia, and China to call the C5. Do you know why? Because he cannot, see, if you cannot beat them, join them. He is a classic businessman, So, well, coming back to this point here, that Modi ji did not take call simply means that, the government finds itself in a comfortable position, but its positioning with the industry has to be robust. So, I'm told that, it has been making tremendous efforts to sort of find alternative sort of markets for the exporters. And it's one of the reasons why some people surmise that the Reserve Bank of India is taking a hands-off approach and not intervening in the market to adjust the dollar and the rupee exchange rate here, okay? Because it's all market related here. It doesn't want to include here. The additional opportunity and challenges that are impacting the whole world, and also in a positive way India, is the population crisis. Not the overpopulation crisis, but the depopulation crisis. This is the additional kink that businesses will have to really factor in and see on a long-term basis where you will hedge, where you will actually do your business planning. In my view, you can handle finance and all of the other geopolitical risks. It's hard to handle or bet on people and the population dynamics. Let me tell you why I say this. In the 70s and the 60s, the concern around the globe was overpopulation, and therefore what would happen to the economies and so forth. But today, in the last 10 years, the concern is so much on depopulation. How did it happen? Bear with me. Biologically speaking, the geneticists have identified that the male potency, the sperm count as they call it, has gone down by 55% in the last 60 years, all over the world. While they are studying why, what happened, and so forth, this is for the geneticists to argue and so forth. That's only half of the story. The story on the other half is that women have been postponing childbearing constantly over the last 30-40 years, especially in the West, Japan, Korea, and all of these places, even in India. Thank you. So, the replenishment rate of 2.1 is very much high, whereas all the countries are way below, including India at 1.8, 1.7. Korea at 0.8. Most of the Western countries well below 1, which means that you will not have enough population to meet the next economic challenge of the times. But which country has a certain advantage over the next 40-50 years? That is India. Simply because from a demographic point of view, we have enough people in the productive age group than the non-productive age group compared to all other countries. So while there are so many jobs in the sectors in so many countries going unfulfilled, they're just not finding people, India stands to look at a horizon where it can actually bring in people with skills and talent. Already Indians are very talented. All you need to do is upgrade your skills into new areas of technology so that you can exploit this particular market. By 2050, the projections are that, we would reach 1.55 or 1.6 billion with a substantial number of people in the productive age group. It's a lot of opportunity for India to enter into new enterprise and meet the demands of the world. But at the same time, it is a risk because so many of the countries want you. So there could be so much more of immigration from India if people are not anchored back in India. So while India stands at a very nice, beautiful time, as I call it, Parvakala, in the next 30, 40, 50 years of demographic advantage, financial advantage, economic advantage, and all advantages, unless the entrepreneurs and the government work together and take advantages of this opportunity, you will have the risk of losing all those productive people to go away from India. I hope that does not happen, and I hope that actually India will retain this talent and that you will provide an ecosystem so good that not only people will retain here, but those who have gone out will come back here and work for India's prosperity. Just 1 minute on my involvement in former Soviet Union. As I was telling you, Romania and Bulgaria, I was part of a big group of people who were asked to go into this country and then study and then see how we can help them. At that time, the Keynesian thinking was very much part of the psyche of our, So we said, why don't we put more money at the back of this problem? So we designed programs for enterprise development, skills development, consultants, market research, market, etc. Utterly failed. It managed to give them employment for a few years, but it utterly failed because people cannot be changed overnight. You just cannot change people from a market base, from a command and control regime of the Soviet Union to a market-based system where you get signals from the free market. They were just not there. They couldn't even understand double entry bookkeeping. What can I tell you? Because they didn't need to. The top general says, I want so much, and then that gets done. That's it. So how do you change from that to an open market system? We failed. But we had to try. We are the World Bank. If we don't do that, who else will? Right? So we went there. At least we produced excellent reports. We had excellent consultants to study the demographics and the skill base and everything. So we produced a lot of good reports. We put some money. It didn't happen because it wasn't the right one that married with the people's abilities to absorb. I know I have not said anything about your enterprise or whatever. All I have placed before you is how difficult or different the world's system is and where India's mosaic system is. So I hope you found something of interest and value in this 30-40 minutes, and I immensely thank you for listening to me. I had not delivered this lecture because this is not a technical one anywhere. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Just give you a moment. Please be here.
You want me to speak?
Yes. Thank you, sir, for your insightful session with giving live examples where we stand and where the other countries are in today's world. Thank you so much. I would take a small moment to please introduce Ms. Megha. She's here. Megha Kiran. She's joined as a new AM associate member. She's here. Please put your hands together. Please, Megha, come on the stage. Hi. In fact, I'd given your introduction before you came, so I just want people to see.
Thank you, Lakshmi, for a very warm introduction. And I'm sorry for being late today. I'm sorry here for everybody for being late. When my introduction was there, I was not here. But thank you again for calling me here and introducing again. Yeah. Looking forward to speak and interact with everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you. Now may I request the members of TiE to please come on stage to hand over a small token of appreciation to sir.
Let's do Q&A first.
Sir?
We have some questions.
Oh, okay, sorry. Sure. So,
okay. Hello. Sir, you...
Call me Varadarajan.
Yeah, Varadarajan, sir, you gave a very wonderful lecture on navigation in terms of what the world is today, from unipolar to bipolar or multipolar. And I just have a couple of points which I just thought that maybe you may want. See, one of the things which was there was a 80 or 90 year cycle of domination by one country. England in the beginning, before that, and then the US, and now somewhere else. If you can kind of put a little bit of your knowledge and your experience in seeing the today's world, the bipolar world or multipolar world, compared to the unipolar of Spanish and Portuguese and what have you, it would be wonderful to understand, what you think. Where are we headed? How difficult, how easy it is.
You rejuvenated through this question. Couple of things. I have not studied the Portuguese and the Spanish this thing, but the 80-year cycle that you mentioned is actually called the turning. So I forget the name of the author, but they have come up with this identification or a diagnosis that many of these economic cycles and the power of countries have a turning on the 80-year cycle. and that therefore it is now the chance of the America to lose that particular one. Some have some have also talked about the 400-year cycle. Colonel Rajiv Narayan speaks of the 400-year-old cycle. Some other people have now come up with the 250-year-old cycle, saying that, America is now 250 years, and that therefore it's going to go through a churn and change and all that. So I have not studied those particular ones, but from a multipolar one, the risks that people are perceiving is this. Bankers and traders, big traders I'm talking about, like the HSBC and others who move big amount of money, big oil, forward trading and all that, they grew very comfortable with a very predictable single American power, because whatever moved in the world as trade and all that was protected by America, called the strategic interests. America used the military power. It has bases all around the world, right? So the trade routes and all that were all protected. So the insurance premium for moving goods and all other services was very kept low. But in the recent times, when this particular single regime is going into 2 or 3, who actually sets the rule here? Who protects these things? Who is protecting my money? What am I exposed? So the bankers and the others are still figuring out, and the insurance people are figuring out, what am I insuring here? You see, it's not a small joke. Because the earlier regime was that, yes, we'll safeguard using its strategic interests and the military power is there. If you remove that, who? So the insurance costs have actually tremendously gone up, which was exactly what the Russia offered in terms of offsetting for India, even more than that. Says, we will remove that and also give you additional $5 lesson. You see this one? So there is flux, and any change is painful for the world to gradually, come to a, equilibrium for that. And here we are still talking about only 25% of the trade. And I think when the multipolar wind settles down, it is expected that it's going to be the BRICS that will replace the G7. The writing is on the wall, okay? That's why more people are actually joining the BRICS, Saudi Arabia has joined, UAE has joined. There are so many more who are going to. The expectation is that today, BRICS accounts for 47% of the trade, while G7 accounts for 38%. Already it has, come. But the problem is predictability. Where am I putting my bets? And are the banks ready? Are the insurance companies ready? Are the shipping lines ready to take these risks? And who sets it? And BRICS will set who? China? China sets world rules? Come on, give me a break. China. So people are not comfortable. So I think, like many others who have been talking about this, they think that there will be a period of uncertainty. Political power will shift. The trade power will shift, but the discomfort will be there for a very long time. How long? I do not know. You are the entrepreneurs, you know better. But definitely there will be turmoil. Did I answer your question, sir? Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Prasad, Varadarajan Atur. You briefly mentioned about stereotypes of character of a nation. Chose Japan, USA, Russia, and China. Let us call it as national character. You also gave some picture about the national character of India, how it is a mosaic. Will it be possible to extend that explanation as to how our national character, considering the fact that for 1,000 years India was attacked, some revival is taking place now, it's how it is going to affect us at a personal level as entrepreneurs?
This afternoon, actually, I was talking to a group of faculty PUC faculty, and this issue of national identity, our identity which has been stolen and is exactly what I talked about, but you want me to relate it to the entrepreneurial challenge that we have here. Forgive me, if, maybe I'm just thinking on my feet. I will try to say a few words about it. For a businessman, it's all about market. If you lowball a market, you're missing the opportunity. If you highball a market, you're gone. All your money is gone, right? But the US is very good at marketing, not just market, marketing. The marketing skill of an American is highest, superb. You will never see that kind of a professional marketing skill in other nationalities that I have talked about here, Chinese, Japanese. You will see them deal with very well, but the American that you deal with is down to earth and is always on the ball with you. So, from a perspective of the Indian identity that we are now talking about, we are now regaining our identity, right? So the force of that regaining of that identity, I believe, will create new markets and new opportunities. If nothing, it should create a retention of the market within the domestic borders of this country, if nothing. So it's a huge one. But what I do not know is whether that regaining of the identity and finding the identity and taking pride in the identity will translate into discipline, that it can actually become a very big market for you. What I mean is like this. Swachh Bharat was introduced by Prime Minister Modi, right? Does it take 10 years for Indians to not litter on the streets? Just think for a minute. It's not about identity. It is just that cultural hangover. It's not my problem. Okay? Rest of the world, wherever you go, even in Africa I have traveled, with the exception of Nigeria, all countries are very clean, mostly, but not India. North India is terrible. If Mysore is the cleanest city, you can imagine what the rest of it. So why am I saying this? Is that, if we were to be clean, if we make it, that's a tremendous business opportunity. Tremendous business opportunity for people to say, why don't I operate a tipping mechanism whereby I collect garbage and throw it? Indians have a resistance to doing these kind of things. Garbage, no model ariyadilla. Talk to an American, he will say, oh, fantastic, I will run a 25 truck company tomorrow. It's just the mindset. And the second observation that I find is that, I travel so much. The traffic discipline is so good even in small countries of Africa. Just traffic discipline. But here, I wouldn't say it is bad. This is called collaborative driving. Everybody comes and... So when I said, why don't you have a stop and go? He said, that's exactly what we are doing, sir. Stop and go. Stop and go. Everybody comes there and stop and go. Stop and... So, what does it mean? If you change that system, you are creating a market. When I was driving, recently on the highway, this thought came to me. Trucks are supposed to drive on the left-hand side of the road, right? You have 3-lane highway, 3 here, 3 there. Trucks are there, traveling at 30 kilometers on all 3 lanes. Okay? It's a safety issue. Now, can you resolve it? You can. You just need to have consequences for your action. All you have to do is a transponder system with a drone that will identify if you are driving not on the left lane but any other lane for more than 1 minute or 1 kilometer or 10 kilometers, you are immediately charged 1,000 rupees or whatever. Believe me, nobody will even come to the second lane even if you have to. Right? It's a business opportunity. But that comes from discipline, whether we can actually translate that into a business opportunity. So, thank you.
I have two questions, short question. One is on the macro. Why are we always measuring our GDP in dollar terms? There is a purchasing power parity terms, and as you said, our dependence on export is very less.
Yes.
We are already a third largest economy based on the PPP, about 17 trillion, and a per capita about $7,000. Of course, per capita is average, which may be misleading. That was question number one. Second is, we in business community understand VUCA world. That means VUCA world, VUCA. It's an acronym for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
Now the churning has become even more intense because every other country is in war with any other country.
Correct.
I'm told that about 27 countries are at war with each other in the world. That also brings an opportunity for people who make arms and ammunition. And India is also exporting a lot of them. How do you see entrepreneurship challenges in these kind of circumstances? Because one sees it as a disaster, whereas the other businessman sees it as an opportunity.
Yes.
So what is your take?
Yes, thank you. First question, why dollar and why can't we use some other metrics? Give it some more time, maybe another couple of decades before the world can settle on another system. I tell you the reason why. IMF introduced what is known as a special drawing rights. It's a different currency, composite currency, because they wanted the world to adopt a currency that is not associated with any country, right? Dollar, that's America, so why can't we do that? Now, that special drawing rights was not in liquid form in most banks and financial sector. So it quickly eroded the appeal of the special drawing rights. So it was a top-down system, IMF designing a currency, composite, and then depending upon the GDP of all of the major, 11 currencies, it would change. Messy. So dollar today somehow is still the most stable currency because it is the backing of the Fed and it is the backing of the America. $30 trillion economy will not go wrong. If you look at the history, political history of America, if there is anything wrong in the monetary or the fiscal policy of the country, it will quickly adjust. There will be no compromises on adjusting. They are the quickest to adjust and say, I was wrong. They will change it and make sure that everything is done right. So if anybody wants to put a bet on who will adjust it best and still keep the dollar strong, it is the America. So dollar will continue to be strong. It is just that instead of the 100% dependency on that, others will also take share of that particular market. So it's a standardization to use nominal currency dollars for GDP purposes and all that. So the second question is more interesting. Recently, I think we have seen there is more private sector in the defense manufacturing in the country. Thanks to the new policies of the government, this is happening, and this has happened, and more private enterprises are amalgamating or coming together to form sort of joint ventures to meet the new challenges and the needs of the country. You brought out a different point, whether is it an opportunity that is good or bad, is it really for destruction and all that. This is where the dharmic angle comes in, where the Indian psyche is different from others. The point is that as long as you are strong with defense, nobody can mess with you. That's the whole point. If you remember the Bhagavad Gita, that is the ethos of the Gita itself. Be strong. Don't let these things happen to you. But if the time comes that you have to use it, you have to use it, right? So that's exactly what it is. I think the Indian entrepreneurship has now found an important window into the defense manufacturing in the private sector. Because from the current outlay of 1%, 1.5%, the thinking now is to go to 2.5%. And 2.5% of 4 trillion is a lot of money every year. So believe you me, everybody is gearing up to it. Okay, everybody is gearing up to taking that particular challenge. Did I answer your question, sir? Yeah. Thank you. Any other? So, yeah.